All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down a financial concept that is, honestly, essential for anyone who owns, well, pretty much anything of value, from a house to a single share of stock. We're talking about an asset's basis.
Okay, let's put this into perspective. Imagine you just bought a house. You know what you paid for it, right? But here's the thing. What's its tax price? That's a different number, and it's exactly what we're going to figure out.
So what exactly is this tax price we're talking about? Well, in the financial world, its official name is basis, and you can think of it as the starting point, the absolute foundation of your asset's entire tax story.
Yeah, to put it really simply, basis is the number the IRS looks at to figure out if you've actually made money or lost money when you go to sell something. It's the starting line for that whole calculation.
And that's why the whole foundation of a house analogy works so well. I mean, everything is built right on top of it. If you get that foundation number right from the get-go, then calculating your gains, your losses, and ultimately your taxes, it all becomes so much easier down the road.
But here's where it gets interesting. That starting point, what we call your cost basis, isn't always just what's on the price tag. Nope, it's often a bit more than that.
So your initial basis, it starts with the purchase price, for sure. But then you get to add in all these other costs that were necessary to get that asset up and running. We're talking about things like sales tax, shipping fees if you had any, installation costs, and yeah, even the legal fees you might have paid to close the deal.
Okay, let's make this real with a quick example. Let's say you buy a vehicle for your business, and the sticker price is $15,000. But hold on top of that, you paid another $1,200 in sales tax? I mean, that's a real cost you had to pay to get that vehicle, right? So when it comes to taxes, your starting point, your basis, isn't 15 grand. It's actually $16,200. You've just boosted your asset's tax price, and trust me, as we're about to see, that's a really good thing when it's time to sell.
But here's the thing. That initial number, it's not set in stone. Your basis is a living, breathing number that can and often does change over the years you own the asset. And this new, evolving number is called your adjusted basis.
And this chart here, it lays it out perfectly. You can see how some things, like making a big capital improvement, will actually increase your basis. On the other hand, things like taking a depreciation deduction for a business asset will decrease it. It goes both ways.
Let's take Calix here. He buys his house for $120,000. Then he spends $9 grand to pave the driveway. Now that's a major improvement, not just a quick fix. So what happens? He doesn't just get a nice new driveway, he also gets to increase his home's adjusted basis all the way up to $129,000.
Okay, but what happens if you didn't actually buy the asset? What if it was given to you? This is where the rules take a really fascinating turn. When you get property as a gift or an inheritance, how you figure out your basis changes completely.
And the difference between these two scenarios is just massive. You really have to pay attention here. If you get a gift, you pretty much step into the shoes of the person who gave it to you. You take on their original basis. But an inheritance? Whoa, that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, inherited property often comes with this huge tax advantage, all thanks to something called the stepped-up basis rule. And let me tell you, this is one of the most powerful benefits you can find in the entire tax code.
So what does it mean? It means the basis of the asset you inherit gets stepped up to whatever its fair market value was on the day the original owner passed away. Essentially, it's like a giant reset button. All those years, maybe even decades of untaxed growth, poof, wiped clean for tax purposes.
Let's follow Libby's story to see just how powerful this is. So years and years ago, her uncle bought some stock for just $850.
Over the next 20 years, that stock just took off. So when her uncle passed away and Libby inherited it, that same stock was worth $19,000. And because of the step-up rule, that $19,000 becomes her new basis, not the old $850.
Okay, so a few months later, Libby decides to sell the stock for $21,000. Now check this out. The result is just incredible. Instead of paying taxes on the gain from $850 all the way up to $21,000, she only has to pay tax on the $2,000 of growth that happened after she inherited it. That is a huge tax savings.
But, and this is a big but, it is absolutely critical to know this rule can cut both ways. It's a double-edged sword. If you inherit an asset that's actually lost value, the basis gets stepped down to that lower market value. And that means that original loss can never be claimed for tax purposes. It just vanishes. Okay, so we've talked about cost basis,
adjusted basis, what happens with gifts, what happens with inheritances. Let's tie it all together and get to the simple reason why keeping track of all this is so incredibly important.
Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to this one simple, powerful formula. The money you get when you sell, minus your adjusted basis, equals your taxable gain or loss. It's that simple. The higher you can legally get that basis number, the lower your taxable gain will be. And that means you pay less in taxes. Your basis is literally half of that critical equation.
And really, that's the power of understanding what basis is all about. It takes a simple price tag and turns it into a financial story that changes over time. And knowing that story, well, it isn't just about filing your taxes correctly. It's a fundamental piece of managing your own financial future.